Hello, and welcome to our third episode of Technically Speaking. I'm Dara Raskin again, and today I get to be on the other side of the questions and share answers to a question I get all the time. It's one of my favorite questions. I'm stuck. What should I do? It's one of my favorite questions because I think everyone can answer it themselves. You're asking it just to get somebody to mirror back to you. So, my first answer to that question is also the first question I ask. What do you need to do first? The goal of this question is to get whoever is asking it to stop thinking about the whole problem, which is probably big and complex and integrated into other things, and take a teeny tiny chunk of it and not think about how to do it, but think about what to do in simple English. So let's take a simple problem and see how it would go. Let's cook lunch together. Seems super simple, but if you've ever worked with elementary school students where you ask them to write out instructions on how to make peanut butter and jelly, you know that this can be quite a complex process to write out all the steps. So, to our first question, what should we do first? I think maybe we find a recipe, figure out what we want to cook, something that sounds delicious, and then what do? We need to go get ingredients. And so let's make a list of all those ingredients. And then next, maybe we head to the store and shop. Next, we start prepping the food that we picked up. And you get the point. My goal here is to take the problem of cooking lunch, break it down in English in a way that anyone can understand what you're trying to do, and not think about how to build it out just yet. We can do the same thing with a development problem, a user story, any other problem that you have. Just break off a teeny tiny piece. So, how can we write a function or configure a module to take an input string and return us every other word in reverse? Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, it would be 1 out, 3 roof, or something like that. And first, we can get the words of the string separated, then find the indexes of the even words, then loop through and change the even words and print the output. In my entire problem solving, I never said how I would do these things, but kind of what my steps would be to either code or no code the module. But as we just learned, the only way to resolve these problems is to break it down into smaller chunks. So, question number 2 of the day: why do I have this conversation so many times a week? And I think there's a couple of answers. The first, people new to developing, whether in code or codeless, often just don't know where to start. Even if they've been given a starting point, like your inputs and your outputs. And if you don't know where to start, this can lead to a sense of panic and feel really overwhelming. Second thing, when they stop panicking and get out of the no code or the code, turns out they often do know where to start and what to do, even though they might not know exactly how to do it. But this smaller, more well-defined question is much easier to get answers on. In Uncork, you can ask these small questions and more general use case problems in the community hub, or work with a teammate who's unfamiliar with your specific project, but they're able to give you the quick answers because it's general. When you have a big, undefined, messy, specific problem, you can very easily get lost in an unrelated thread looking for a silver bullet that may not be there, or spend so much time trying to explain it to somebody that you lose track of what you were originally trying to solve with them. The third thing is, I and many other developers go through this process every time we develop something, but we do it in our heads. And so our team members don't see us doing this and don't get to exercise that muscle. When we're sitting with our more junior developers or people who are newer to the language we're coding in Uncork, we should show our work. Sit down, let them learn the skill by watching us break down the problem. Next, we don't encourage our team and our clients to step back from the no code often enough. For developers in every language and codeless, breaking big, scary, unknown problems into small, manageable ones is a core skill. And unlike syntax, we can't learn it from community or from Google. So, lastly, what's my advice? Question number 3. What's the advice for everyone out there learning on Quark? And I have a lot, but this is probably the most important list of it. Firstly, don't let the blank module freak you out. You've got this. Second, start with the concrete things you know. What does the module need to take in and spit out? What is it supposed to do? Then write down the steps and worry about how you're going to implement it later. Next, start with plain English. Break down the steps you need to take. Write them as sentences as though you were telling somebody out loud, like I just told you how to make lunch. If you're going to ask a colleague for help, a plain English plan describing what you intend to do is much easier to explain than going through your actual configuration. And it's easier to change too once you've spoken to them. After that, iterate on your plain English steps. If they still seem big, take them one at a time and break them down further. Focus on what you're trying to do, not the configuration required to do it. When you're happy with your plan, tackle each step one at a time. Turn the English into components and modules, and Community Hub is your friend here. Ask the questions there, review what others have searched, and even look at some examples in Academy. When you're done, refactor. And if you're on my team, maybe write some tests. Finally, don't feel bad about taking the time to think, draw pictures, and talk to other people. Working out your approach to a problem and what steps you need to take is the most challenging thing in programming and codeless, at least for me. And last step, take a moment to celebrate that you did it. You solved your problem, all by yourself. That's all for this week. Thank you for joining me. And until next time, keep asking those questions.